And Amy, and you heard the clip there at the top. Julian Assange, who was on with Hannity the other night, the WikiLeaks dude. And let's be clear about Julian Assange. He's not a guy with a white hat on. He is not a heroic figure. He's somebody that is compromised our national security by trafficking classified information the same way a certain former Secretary of State did. So he's not an ally here. But then, nevertheless, he does have, it seems to me, evidence that proves Hillary Clinton is lying. Not that we need more evidence, but in response to what she said in the forum yesterday, in response to what she said to the FBI per the document dump on Friday, in response to what she said sitting next to that suburban dad on the download that she's running with, David Muir, ABC News. Julian Assange has documents that show all the indicators, all the headings she said she didn't see that weren't part of any email communication involving her. Assange is holding them up, and we know he's got documents that are of a classified nature from this country and saying this.
And in fact, we have already released thousands of cables by Hillary Clinton. Here she is, Clinton. See, that's her signature, Clinton, with the C in bracket right there.
Wow.
Thousands of examples where she herself has used this C in brackets and signed it off, and more than 22,000 times that she has received cables from others with this C in brackets. So it's absolutely incredible for Clinton to lie. She is lying.
And she just kind of rinses and repeats different lies. She's got like 3 different lies, and she just kind of runs through them until somebody exposes, reminds people, well, that's a lie because you said this previously. Then she goes to the next lie.
But she explained yesterday, too, which is something I'd never heard before about headers. That the headline, which she used the slang headers, it needs to say it's classified.
That's exactly what Assange is talking about. Here are all these documents. Look at her. Here's her signature. Here's the C on the top of it. And then she doesn't. But then she moves to the next slide, which is, I thought C was an alphabetical lettering of a paragraph. And as Michael Rubin from AEI made the kind of common sense point when we talked to him last hour, well, where were A and B?
Right.
If C was the paragraph, because normally you go in alphabetical order, you don't start with C.
When she tries to explain herself, it's just
it's
she
absurd.
sounds like she's making more excuses, and it's uncomfortable. I mean, she was crawling out of her skin, I thought, during that town hall last night.
Yeah, she was.
Half hour was just too long.
She was so befuddled that she forgot there are 6,000 troops on the ground in Iraq, for example. Also, this interesting interview by Neil Freeman, who's the former founding producer of Firing Line. He had this National Review Online conversation with Angelo Codavia, who's the Boston University professor emeritus who wrote the book Ruling Class 6 years ago, in many ways predicting all that has come to pass this election cycle. And one of the things Freeman asks Codavia is, tie in, if you would, the attitudes towards Muslims and street protesters of the left. And Codavia responds, common sense recoils at the ruling class's peculiar protection of Muslims and Islam, coupled with restrictions on and denigrations of Christians and Christianity, all in the name of morality. The question imposes itself, which morality? Whose morality? For most Americans, the answer is not mine. The same goes for the ruling class's tolerance, if not promotion, of mobs who ravage cities, loot, and attack police. Common sense says, such people would do me harm if they could. Why are our rulers on the side of those who would harm us? And isn't that sort of kind of a summation of the Obama-Clinton years? Why are our rulers on the side of those who would harm us domestically as well as internationally? Well, for more assistance in trying to address that question, as well as assessing some of what was laid out by Trump and Clinton last night, we're happy to be joined again by our friend Dr. Sebastian Gorka, counterterrorism expert and the author of the book Defeating Jihad, A Winnable War. And he's also going to be at the Freedom Summit.
He's going to be the keynote breakfast speaker at Freedom Summit Chicago, which takes place on October 29th.
FreedomSummitChicago.com.
You know it.
There you go. Dr. Gorka, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So, well, let's start with Codavia's kind of rhetorical question. Why are our rulers on the side of those who would harm us? It seems to me that's part of the question that Hillary Clinton has to answer.
Yeah, don't expect an answer from her, but the professor's absolutely right. What we have is we have a political elite in the last 7.5 years that is the product of a very specific ideology. Don't forget that Hillary Clinton interned with Saul Alinsky. She wrote her a college paper that is still, treated like top secret on Saul Alinsky. And these individuals, whether it's the president, her former Secretary of State, the National Security Advisor, Samantha Powers, Susan Rice, they all believe in one thing. If you look at the world today, if there's any problem out there, America is the cause of that problem. We are the new imperial power, and we must be taken down a peg or two, because this is the answer for all the world's ills. So that's why the people who have been our friends for 50 years are treated like our enemies. And that's why the people who represent the greatest threat to America are often empowered, whether it's through the withdrawal of our troops from Iraq or whether it's the deal that gave Iran $150 billion and threshold nuclear capability. That's the upside-down world that we live in.
And Hillary Clinton last night talked about the Iranian deal that she was a part of at the beginning. And how do you see her answer to what's going on over in Iran and that with the email controversy? Do you really think she'd endanger American lives if she were to become president?
Oh, I've said so unequivocally. I said she has blood on her hands, and if she becomes the commander-in-chief, then American lives will be in danger. That is absolutely certain. It's not just her catastrophic record as a cabinet member, whether it's Syria, Libya, Iraq, Benghazi. It's also the fact that this woman, after what she did with the highest level of classified information in the United States, so TSSCI, SAP, with what she did to that information or her disregard for the secrets of this nation, she should be disqualified from running from any office. I mean, she shouldn't be allowed to run for the local county, the dog catcher, let alone the commander-in-chief. And again, she lies and she lies and she lies. But the average American knows that they can see through the lies.
What's the status of forces, in your opinion, with ISIS? We heard this week of, it seems like a terrorist threat that was foiled in Paris with a car loaded with gas canisters outside the Notre Dame Cathedral there. And then there are conflicting reports in terms of territorial gains and losses, including Turkey securing its border with Syria and pushing ISIS back. Give us kind of your assessment. So what will the president on day one in January be facing in terms of the threat level ISIS presents?
Well, this is what I write about in my book, Defeating Jihad, and your listeners can actually check the report we did on my website, GorkaBriefing.com. That's THEGORKA briefing.com. We wrote a report on what ISIS is doing in America. And here's the blunt truth of the reality. Since ISIS declared the caliphate 2 years ago, end of June 2014, we have killed or arrested 108 people in America linked to ISIS. The last one just 2 weeks ago in Roanoke, Virginia. That's not 8 people, not 28 people. It's 108. If you look at the broader picture globally, there's something called the SITE Institute, excellent counterterrorism website. They've crunched the numbers on this. According to SITE, since June 2nd of this year, outside of Iraq and Syria, so outside of the actual war zone, there has been a jihadi attack somewhere in the world every 83 hours. Not 83 days, every 83 hours. The enemy is on the rise, and this administration denies that reality.
Well, Dr. Gorka, do you believe that we need boots on the ground in order to defeat ISIS?
We have to be there as trainers, as advisors, but we shouldn't be the face of this war. The face of this war should be our local Muslim allies. So it has to be the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Emiratis. They have to come together in an alliance to crush ISIS. But that's never going to happen unless they believe we have their six and we're there for the long term. And unfortunately, having worked with our Muslim allies in the region, after the last 7.5 years, they simply do not trust Washington. And personally, I don't blame them. So the next president is going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting diplomatically to rebuild all those relations that have been burnt by the Obama White House.
And that was the note that Donald Trump struck in part in his speech yesterday morning at the Union League Club in Philadelphia, where he talked about diplomacy versus Hillary Clinton's destruction in places like Libya and Syria, as you mentioned. What was your assessment of the broad outlines that Donald Trump offered in terms of his plans to rebuild the U.S. military?
Yeah, I've told people already that yesterday the Clinton and the Trump kind of non-debate last night was just a dog and pony show. What American voters need to do is they need to listen to or read the speech that Donald Trump gave in Philadelphia earlier, the actual national security speech. Very, very, very substantive, and it really gives you a glimpse of where he is and how he wants to protect the nation. And the details he gives in it, the number of troops we have lost with cuts, the fact that the Navy is now less than half the size in terms of ships that it was when President Reagan was the commander-in-chief. All of these details are really indicative of how dangerous the world has become and how we are in a more vulnerable position today and what he's going to do about it. So if you really want to know what you have to judge upon the candidates, I'd check out the Philadelphia speech.
All right. He is Dr. Sebastian Gorka. He is the author of the book Defeating Jihad, A Winnable War. And you can see him live and in color and in 3 dimensions on October 29th at our Freedom Summit, where he'll be the breakfast keynote speaker.
Yes, and if you want tickets for that, go to freedomsummitchicago.com and join us on October 29th. Dr. Gorkin, thank you so much for joining us. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.